Hi, I'm Becky Avila, your host, and today I'm going to be addressing the dreaded topic of Amazon suspensions. I'll share with you today all the types of suspensions that can happen on Amazon, from account suspensions to listing suspensions, and probably one that you didn't know existed if you aren't checking for it. I'll share with you why certain suspensions may happen and ultimately how can you do your best to prevent them from even happening in the first place. Now, in case you weren't aware, 99% of the time, these issues can be fixed. So that's encouraging, right? And let's dive into it. So, for most brands, Amazon is a significant sales channel. Typically, it can range from a lot of times it's at least 10% of overall sales revenue that's being generated for brands each month online. However, some brands are more heavily dependent on Amazon as a sales channel, so sometimes it can be upward of even over 50% of their overall revenue every month online. So, this episode is important because having, for instance, one listing go down or your account suspended could really hurt your bottom line. And as a quick mention here, if you are overwhelmed with what suspension issue you're facing and you just don't have the bandwidth for you or your team to fix it, make sure to click the show notes below, reach out to us, and you can book a call there. I'll share with you, but also we have experience in really dealing with suspension issues, and most of them you're able to get fixed. So I think that this is going to be very helpful for you if you kind of just want to know what the process would look like. Okay, so let me share with you some of the possible suspensions that you can get on Amazon, why they happen, and how to fix them. So the first one I'll mention is really, I think it's the one that everyone thinks of when they hear the words Amazon and suspension paired together. So, this is actually really one that we don't see as often, but it could happen if Amazon thinks that you're violating their policies, like if they think that you have multiple seller accounts for one brand as the main account holder. Also, in the middle of last year in 2023, Amazon, for instance, started requiring you to verify your business information. And if you didn't provide it to them in the time, like the deadline, that your account was at risk of deactivation until they got that information. There could be other reasons, for instance, too, like your account health. Maybe you've racked up a lot of violations with product policy compliance, or for instance, let's say you use fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by merchant, you're doing your own shipping, then your shot like shipping, if it's no longer under the targets, that could cause issues too. I'm not saying it always will. Amazon is pretty gracious with that. And when you like get that down and you kind of most of the time have it under, that shouldn't be a problem. Most of the brands that we work with, even if they're using FBM, they are usually keeping that way under the target, or even if they're at the target, it's very temporary and then they're working on getting it down. So don't freak out if that happens. Be aware though, it could happen. Amazon could send you a warning. So that's part of the reason it's really important to check your account health daily inside Seller Central. As just a side note, you can also check it from your phone too. If you need to like make sure just one person at your company is at least doing that every single day. Now, I mentioned a few things already about, you could have like a strike on your account, like a product condition claim. But just because you get one of those strikes, it doesn't mean, hey, you're now out, your account's suspended. So while you don't want to take it lightly and you definitely want to address it and figure out why there was a complaint, for instance, you can kind of get to the root of it and try to fix it. If it's something that's inside your control, if it's outside of your control, and it was just someone complaining, there's certain points you can't do much about it. But typically, you can even get those removed, and that's what we would recommend too. But you don't want it to be an ongoing problem, right? And you also don't want to have a bunch of violations racked up on a lot of different areas on that account health page. Amazon will typically notify you if your account does get suspended. This is your seller account as a whole. They'll let you know inside your seller account. They'll also sometimes email you. But for emails, as a little note, just make sure if you don't click links in emails because people do make their emails look like they're coming from Amazon and they're not. So if it prompts you to enter your password, don't do that. Instead, open up a new page, log into Seller Central like you normally would without clicking any links, and then log in that way, and then look at your performance notifications. There is where typically it would be found, and also account health. One of those places, pretty much the performance notifications I would really look at. And like I said, you'll want to just be aware because there have been phishing attempts in the past to get people's passwords with email links. So just be careful. Now, to fix an account suspension issue, how to fix this, Amazon is going to basically require you to submit to them a plan of action. And you have to be so careful with how you write this out. It should be very clear. It should be also concise. Sometimes people think using more words is better. It's not usually in the case of Amazon, but you do need to explain enough. And also you'll want to make sure to address every issue point by point. Any reason that they're giving you for why your account is being suspended, you want to do everything you can to get that first appeal right, because there can be a time that Amazon will stop listening to your appeals. We found it's even harder after the first appeal, just in general with any kind of suspension for those second appeals, etc. So just be aware of that. Try to get it the best you can the first time. Now, as a side note, and I feel kind of silly saying this, but I want to make sure that I'm clear. If you are a shady business that is doing things that are not allowed by Amazon, this episode is not for you. All of the brands that we work with are small businesses. They are trying to follow the rules that Amazon has laid out, and we also guide them through what Amazon's rules are so they're aware too. And so we at ClickFluency, we do full service Amazon services. We completely support that approach to doing everything as Amazon has laid out, because we know we want to play the long game. We want the brands to play the long game. We don't want kind of shady things happening, stuff like that. So if you are that kind of person, then this episode is probably not for you. Now, another suspension type, and one of the more common ones in our experience of helping brands is in the natural personal care space, is ASIN suspensions. So this means that one of your products, or ASINs, remember that's Amazon's identifying number, has, well, number and letters. Amazon has flagged and now ultimately suspended that ASIN. And if you try to click on your ASIN link, typically it's going to take you to a picture of a really cute dog, which is always fun to see, but not fun to know why that page is showing. So then when it says that page doesn't exist, that means that the listing has been completely pulled down. That means people cannot view it anymore. This is why all of a sudden, you're like, wait, what is going on with my sales? Because if you didn't even know one of your ASINs had gotten flagged and suspended, that's, very much could be the reason why. This would show up in your performance notifications. A lot of times, Amazon even warns you to, hey, you need to fix this listing, and then they kind of will tell you generally what's going on to then fix it. Sometimes you have to do some more digging to figure out exactly what's going on and what you need to fix, but they'll typically try to warn you and then they'll pull it down. But they only usually give you like 2 days, maybe 3. So you'll have to pay attention to those performance notifications. Now, if you have, for instance, variations of your product, so for you, if you have like different sizes of like a shampoo, etc., it's possible that only one of your child ASINs is going to get flagged, while the other ones could remain unsuspended and live on Amazon. So that's going to typically happen when maybe there was some change to that particular ASIN listing content, and now Amazon's bots have essentially flagged perhaps a word. It could even be a picture. Amazon is now scanning images. We know this for sure. And they see some kind of issue with that. Now, especially if you're a natural personal care brand, I know that's who you are typically if you're listening to this podcast. This category of yours can really easily see issues arise, since Amazon really doesn't want any product on their platform, for instance, making any health claims. And so some of your products may kind of have issues with this potentially. So you do need to be careful sometimes with your wording and even the images, like I said. So thankfully, although this isn't an easy or a quick, fast fix, because sometimes it can take like a day, sometimes it could be closer to a week, could even take longer. I'll kind of explain how and why it might take longer. But usually, as long as your product isn't making a claim, or if it has something that Amazon wants removed, and you can remove it by adjusting the content, so maybe there was a word inside your bullets, you can typically remove that, change that out, and typically that can get fixed. So the cases where it wouldn't be a fast fix, like where it would take longer, would be when you have wording that Amazon has flagged on your actual product label. So meaning like it is literally on there. Amazon has seen that, they confirm that at their warehouse. And in those cases, usually you can only fix those by updating the labels. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I am kind of assuming also that your product is legal to sell on Amazon. If it's not, then your product shouldn't be there. And it's not going to get back up if you have a restricted ingredient or product. And as always, like in regards to the wording, the claims, always correspond with your lawyer with what you can and can't say about your products on your labels, on your copy, other places, because really that will save you a lot of headaches down the road. Because not only will you be using this as for Amazon, you will also be using it on all of your other platforms as well. So it's something that you probably already have in your arsenal, but if not, make sure to correspond with a lawyer that's very familiar with what you can and can't say. Another type of suspension is ad suspensions. And sometimes this may be your Amazon ads are considered, you know, ineligible to run. And these are ones that sometimes they aren't even caught if you aren't regularly checking all of your Amazon ad campaigns. So this can happen on SKUs or for sponsored product ads like whole campaigns or sponsored brand ad campaigns. Now, the tricky thing about these suspensions is if you are running, for instance, a lot of campaigns on several products, you might not catch it right away. But it is still costing you in missed sales from ads that those campaigns were previously able to bring you in. So if you don't catch it quickly, that really could be costing you every single day. So that's why it's important to check. You may have had some of your sponsored brand ads, for instance, that were bringing in a good number of new to brand sales. Remember, sponsored product ads currently doesn't show you the metric of how many orders are new to brand orders and sales, meaning they've never purchased from your brand on Amazon ever. And that metric is great, especially for products like yours in the natural personal care space that are consumable, that you're really trying to really bring in and acquire new customers that may not convert on your Shopify website, but they most likely would be, it would be easier for them to convert on Amazon. They've got their payment information already there. They're ready to buy when they're on Amazon, things like that, that I've already mentioned before. So for instance, if you were bringing in a good amount of new to brand sales and all of a sudden that ad got suspended, that campaign got suspended, then all of a sudden that could drop and you would be missing out on that. And that's just something, like I said, that's important to note. And also, I'm going to have this linked in the show notes for you, but make sure to listen to episode 6 where I talked about gaining new subscribers for your brand on Amazon, as that should be part of your approach. This is where, as a natural personal care brand, you're really going to want to make sure that you're on Amazon, not only for having brand control over your brand, because if you don't sell it on Amazon, someone else might, but also because you want to make sure that you're using it as a place to make new people aware of your brand that have never thought about or may have never seen an ad from you. So this is, like I said, just a great way for people, low entry for them to, like, I guess low risk is what I should say, because they have their payment information saved and they're more willing to try new brands that they've never tried before because of the ease, and the conversion rates are phenomenal on Amazon, as I've shared before. So I'll have that linked in the show notes. Now, the reasons might vary going back to like your ad suspensions, but typically Amazon is going to see the product might not be eligible for advertising, and this might be why you're seeing suspended ads in your advertising console. Now, this could be a mistake on Amazon's part. So if your product should be eligible for ads then you'll want to open up a support case with Amazon to get that fixed so it starts running again. And this happens sometimes that Amazon thinks that your product isn't eligible, but as long as it is, if you read their rules, things like that, and it is, then you should really make sure to open a case about that because sometimes Amazon just stops running things and flags things even though they shouldn't be. So that's something for you to make sure you're aware. Now, if you have content also that violates maybe Amazon's policies, they may have not caught it right away. Typically, you do have to submit things for approval first and things get flagged, but it doesn't always get caught right away by Amazon. So it could actually get suspended later, where then you would need to fix it to make sure that your ad complies with policies to get those ads fixed. So I've covered pretty much the main reasons for suspensions, and hopefully this kind of sets your mind a little bit at ease. It can take some time. It can take a lot of going back and forth with Amazon. These fixes aren't always easy. It's easy for me to share these, and we have experience in helping fix these, but sometimes it is going to be a lot of back and forth. If you have a question or maybe a problem that you're facing on Amazon or another platform for your natural personal care brand, make sure to send a quick email to contact@clickfluency.com. I'd love to hear from you because this podcast is here to serve you. Now, if you need more help on something that I covered today, because maybe you realize you just don't have that bandwidth or the platform expertise to fix an Amazon suspension issue that you might be currently facing, I'll have a link in the show notes where you can book a call with us and we can talk about that a little bit more. We'd love to help you really grow your sales on Amazon's platform. That's all I have for today, and I will talk to you next week.